So if you don't know me, I have a YouTube channel. So I'm Philippe Bloquet. I have a YouTube channel called Translators Tech Corner where I do a lot of videos about different CAT tools, and also I explain some theories about how translation tools work and that sort of things. So make sure you check it out. And I also work for outras. I'm the academic program manager there, so I'm in contact with universities, and I help tens of thousands of students worldwide to have free licenses and have access to translation technology during their studies, and then get discounts when they're ready to go to work. So, pleasant job. And today, I wanted to get into this topic. So, we've all heard of AI once, twice, maybe 50 times. And how can we just make sure that things are fresh and interesting for us? And that's the goal of today's session. I'll take you through my journey about what I did, and I'll talk a bit about the technicalities, how things were done, but you'll see it's not super hard, and the idea is to get us excited again about doing something new with new language that we may discover, and see how AI can have a role in maybe making that language alive again, interesting for other people. So that's my goal. Okay, that's it. So languages are a great love story. So that's our goal here. So the language I'll be talking about is Ribamourês. So where are we? So we'll have to find our spot in the world, and that's what is going to explain us how this language works, where it's coming from, because languages are a story of people, places, events, moving governments and all that, and you'll see about that, and also geography, which will be interesting in this case. So where are we? What are we doing? So at the tip of the arrow here, that's where this language is located. So the spot we're looking at is in Portugal, next to the Spanish border in the north. And the principal influences for that language are obviously Castilian and Galaico-Portuguese. So this slide is very interesting. So you can find that on Wikipedia, and the problem is they have that running super fast, so I slowed it down. And that would be interesting to see. So let's remember, the laser points right. We are, there we go. We are about here, okay? So that's where we are. And that's year 1000, and let's see now how things evolve over time. It's gonna take a minute to run, and you're going to see. So we have influences from everywhere, even Arabic influences. So the Iberian Peninsula had many influences over time. So you can see the evolution of languages. And so the area on the top, you'll see it stabilizes after a while with this mix of Portuguese and Galician. But still you have influences because it's all contained in the same Iberian Peninsula. So this area saw massive amount of different influences. And so after the 1800s, things start to take the shape that we know more today. In the 1900s even more, and now around 2000 things are as we know them. So we're back here, okay? So that's our point on the map. So if we zoom in a little bit, okay, we see where we are in Spain. We are in Portugal actually, and Spain is just right here. And now, if we look at the setup and how things were, because of all these empires, even Napoleon went over there, so you had many wars and things like that. And you see that, so the area where the language is found is what's in red, okay, in this pocket. And above you have the Minho River in blue. And you have, so that's the border with Spain to the north. So above the river is Spain, south of the river is Portugal, and to the right we have in yellow the Spanish border again. So you have Spain to the right, and we have many fortified places. You can find cannons, you can find all sorts of things there. So this area saw a lot of pushes in one direction, in the other direction, and even through to today, during the time where there were the dictatorships, both in Spain and in Portugal, this area was, the turning point for contraband. It all happened here, and later on, when drugs came in, the networks already existed, and that was just used, and so these networks are still working. So that's bad, but that tells you that there is strong connection between these people here. And if you look at the town, that's the main town where you have all this area, and that's the main town, and it's all fortified. And if you look at other towns around it, you find the same. And so we talked about the main town, which is Monson, which is next to the river. We see it on the top left here. And so Ribamourês is over there, still in that red pocket. And now on this side, let's look at the elevation, because that's important. This pocket, some of the highest points are like 1,100 meters. So they lived high up. And all this region is mountainous, so you want to go across land like 3 kilometers, you're gonna have to cross a hill. So for people back then, imagine that, no road network as we have today. So you were in a village, it was secluded, and you wanted to visit people that lived like 10 kilometers away, if you were a bird, okay, so 10 kilometers away that way. Well, that was an expedition, and when you came back, it was like, oh, what was it like over there? Who did you see? So that's massive expedition. So the name of all the council over there, the area is called Monson. So I'm going to give you a bit of information about that if you one day you go over there to visit. So that's inside the town. You can see the fortified walls. That's in the center. That's a park next to the river. So across the river is Spain already. And they are very well known for their wine festival, a special white wine called Alvarinho. They are known also for a poet called João Ver, which is now long gone, he's dead. And there's an artist that's very active now, alive, named Tolira, and he specializes in making urban art out of tiles. Very interesting. So you can see his work in the spot over there in France as well. And he does also big fresks on demand. So municipalities ask him to come in and make some beautiful things. You can see him on Instagram, Tolira. And my situation is, I was over there and I was blind. Why? Because there was less than 1,000 speakers of that language. I'm not a native speaker of Portuguese, so I couldn't tell the difference if somebody was speaking that back then. And people that were born and raised there, for them, it's regular Portuguese. But if you take them to Lisbon, it's not, So I didn't even know it existed. So what happened? I love touring this area, which is like I told you, 1,000 meters up. So I go there sometimes, there's snow, it's beautiful. When there's no snow, it's like that. They have special houses with, these stone roofs. Where you don't find that everywhere. Stone slabs, It's like an igloo, but out of stone, So very interesting. And we're in the stone room today, so, maybe there's a connection. And when you tour the place, they have roaming horses over there, roaming cows. If you're not a vegetarian, roaming cow from the mountain. down to your plate. Not bad. I tried it, lovely. And then I go to get a drink of water because there's a spring, natural spring over there. And I see that text, and I'm like, okay, I'm not a native, but I speak a bit of Portuguese, I speak a bit of Galician. It's a mix of both, but it's not really one or the other. What is it that am I looking at? Okay, so I keep wondering. I see this car, and I see, what's that? I see that language on the side of the car, and I'm like, same story here. What on earth is that language? And I start talking with the people, and they explain to me, oh yeah, that's what they speak here in the mountains from many years ago. They speak that, and okay, are people still speaking it? Yes, they are. Oh, okay. And does something exist? Is it materialized? Is it written? And they're like, oh yeah, there's a Facebook group. Okay, so Facebook group, Lab Riba, okay, Facebook group. And I'm like, okay, that's all then. And said, no, there's two ladies too. They wrote a book about it. No, that's interesting. Well, what's in the book? Oh, they took some sayings of the people and they wrote them in the book and they explained the culture, and I'm like, okay, how can I get the book? So I eventually got in touch with the writers that we see here, so Alda Barreiros, Maria Alves, and they wrote that book back in 2021, and that even landed on national TV, because that was an achievement. One of them is a teacher, Portuguese teacher, and they visited people, they asked around, and they started transcribing the language, making choices, and that was a massive undertaking. You have to visit the people, see, do they mostly say it like that when you take it down? How should I transcribe it? Because it hasn't been written, this language, so you're starting from scratch. So you are making decisions that are going to last, because people that are going to read the book, it's then sort of formalized. Then you can polish it off over time, but it's formalized. So they made a tremendous work. And they also created a glossary with the book. And there's a glossary at the end of the book. And then the book got revised, and they added an online glossary. And now people could interact with the glossary, and they could say, well, look, I realized that in my area, they say it more like this. And then you can submit it, they can verify that, and then they can make it official, and that goes into the glossary. And the book also came with an analysis by an anthropologist and more information. So I ended up realizing that I have some good information. They created that association too back then, La Deriva. And now I see it as a real language. So I go over what exists. I have a transcribed and normalized language. I have a glossary. I have a foreword by an anthropologist that goes over what we talked about in the beginning, how languages moved, what happened, the influences, the choice of word, how they chose to vocalize text and all that. And there is a forum with some created text. Okay, so naturally, what do? How about I make a Ribamourês speaking chatbot? Why not? Okay, so one morning I got up and I said, yeah, why not? Why not do that? Okay, so first things first, got in touch with the authors. Hey, can I use this? Why? Because putting this inside an existing AI means now your intellectual property is in the wind. It's going to go places and you don't have control over it. They didn't really understand it, so I spent some time explaining to them, if I put it there, then that's like, imagine that, it's there, it's out there on the web. And they thought about it and they said, no, we think that the exposure for the language is better. So then I realized, ooh, but yeah. So I was all excited, and as you'll see, though this will be madness, yet there is method in it. So my journey with the technology. First, I started with ChatGPT, looking at that. So early 2024. ChatGPT was still running 3.5, was going on 4. There's, it wasn't great, but still, I tried. And the problem was the context. So about the context window, that's how much context you can feed at the time. So how much characters, if you want, before you run out of prompt. And then the chatbot tells you something. So I had to select some amount of text in that language, feed it, and then tell it, well, look, try to tell me something like this sentence in that language. That wasn't too great. And then I started trying with pasty. So if you don't know pasty, that's something that pros made. Okay, so pros.com. And what's interesting about it is that you get enterprise versions of the ChatGPT and Claude. Enterprise versions, they say they don't keep your material.
Sorry.
They say it. But anyway, so the window was bigger. Okay? That was interesting to me because I could then feed a lot more text. I could even give some glossary terms in there and ask the chatbot to produce something. And that was getting better. And I could also compare what ChatGPT was doing, and then I could try the same thing with Claude. And I started realizing Claude is better. So that was a turning point for me. So then I said, okay, now I can get into doing this more formally. So what I did was, I asked them for a digital copy of the book. I gave that to them. And then I had to clean it up because the book is presenting the language, the people, the area, and all they do to the public. And so there's a bit in Portuguese and then a bit in Ribamourês. A bit in Portuguese and then a bit in Ribamourês. And my job was I have to get rid of all the Portuguese and just keep the Ribamourês. So that's what I did. It took me a while. And once I had that clean text, I appended to it the glossary. And now I had more text. Then I went on the forum, and whenever I caught a sentence that looked very clean or that was written by the people from the forum, the teachers, I knew that was good text, so I copied it, I added it. So that's how I expanded the database. And that's my database, about 8,000 words. That's tiny. In the AI world, that's like a grain of sand. That's about nothing, And still, it managed to work. That's crazy. So, how did I approach that? So, I was now having a bigger window, and I could feed Claude the whole text I had, and I told it, this is a new language, analyze it, so you can try to reproduce it later. And basically the idea was analyze the verbal forms, analyze the grammar, analyze the choice of words, And then it was bulk and Ribamourês, all that, I fed it, and then I gave it some action prompts, do this, do that. And once I had that, I could go into producing some paragraphs. So I get a paragraph, I contact the authors, and I'm like, can you look at this and tell me how bad it is? And what they would do is they would actually send it to me fixed, which was perfect. Because then I could add it to my database of text. And that gave me also an idea of how much needed fixing. So little by little, that was improving. So that's the reinforcing method, You try to do something, you produce it, you fix it, and then you add it to your context text. So little by little, we are expanding that mass of text. So then I said, okay, I have something that's looking more solid. Let's submit that to ATA. They are very nice to me, so they said, okay, let's try that. Now, so that's good. So I submitted that, they accepted it. So I continued testing this code. And occasionally I would get the more extended version monthly, and when I did that, I would do more work to be able to generate more results and actually begin to study the language with AI. So let's go into the verbs, analyze how the verbs work, and give me a report. And then I would talk with the authors, they would give me some feedback, and we could see how the things was progressing. And then came the project in Claude. And that was a massive turning point. So projects are an area where you can feed a lot of context to your AI. So you can put there many things. And basically I put there everything that I told you from the beginning. I was able to put there the forward. I was able to tell it, analyze it, because that's a forward, that's how the language works. I could then feed it also geography. Here is why, here is when, here is the history of this area, how things work. Because sometimes, why did I do that? Because the AI doesn't know the language. So sometimes it's going to have to make an improvised choice. And for it not to hallucinate too much, if I give it the blueprint of the language, it can try to come up with the word. And you'll see how that helped later on. So, Project in Claude fed everything I had over there, and as things get cleaned up, I fed more. And things started to really work. So that's, for example, a capture of what I had fed in it. So you see I have some docx, I have some clean text, I have some maps, because it can analyze images as well. So, you know, that's the type of things I was feeding into the AI. And from there, once you are in your project, then you can do the chat in there. And whatever you're doing with the chat, it's going to have that in mind. And that's where things get interesting. Okay, so that's the project in Claude. By the way, projects, you can do some crazy stuff with it. You can do even your own programming. So for example, I'm using the lens to take this. But when you take a picture with a lens that is anamorphic, that you add to your mobile phone, it looks like this. That means that you need to expand it. So I was even able to create my own software to expand the image with, you know, the working in the project. You know, so that's the result after. That looks better, doesn't it? And the wide shots taken in the city earlier on, same method. I took them with the lens and then expanded them with the case lens, and then you get that result. So you can make your own software if you want, up to a degree. So, what did we learn so far? Chat inside the project, they reinforce the whole project. So while you're working in there, it's still learning. So any feedback you're giving it is going to benefit from it. You can upload curated results, and you can produce artifacts. And artifacts are great. So, artifacts. Among the artifacts we made with that was, for example, a full verb conjugation table in Ribamourês. That didn't exist. And after everything was ready, I said, okay, now let's make one. And got that, sent it back to the teachers to clean. They cleaned it up, but they didn't start from scratch because a lot of it was okay. And that's the point. Because they work as well, they're busy, and that worked this way. And then, because some of the project, the idea is, how can we interest new generations into that language? How can we make them interested? And newer generations, they talk about Instagram, TikTok, all these things. And the language that's available so far is life in the countryside when you do everything yourself and you work in the field. Not great. So we have to create new words. So we decided on a set of words that we needed, and we say, okay, AI, you know how the structure of things work for that language. We've explained everything to you. Now, please produce words for all these new words. And we had words like streamer, all those things, you know, that an Instagram, all these things. So a streamer ended up being a trimitidor, like transmitting something, you know. And that's what the AI gave us, and that's what the teachers kept. So because we followed the path where everything was set up so that the AI was learning, we could create that. So we got that artifact back, curated, fed into the AI. So then I said, okay, we're good. So I'm off to the town hall to present them the project. And so in the meeting, I got into the chatbot, and I prepared the chatbot, and I told him, well, okay, you are now a doctor, you're 35 years old, and whenever we speak to you in Portuguese, you answer in Ribamourês. All good. So I explained the thing to the second person to the mayor, the vice mayor, and how to understand. So I told him that here's the laptop, talk to it in Portuguese. And he knew a bit of the language, and his jaw dropped. It was like, oh man, it's actually speaking it. So they were delighted with the project. So do you want to hear it?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. So let's see Alda Barreiros and Maria Alves speaking in Ribamourês.
Estão, Marquinhos? Carlinhos, não estou à noite no foste que te liguei tantas vezes, já Jesus passei uma noite, toda a noite na Porto por tua causa. Até bateste que chamei, e tocava, e tu nada de atender, já andaste.
Ai, mulher, saímos eu e Tora, não está à noite.
Não para de passar a janela.
Não, olha, fomos ver a seleção ao café, tem uma televisão ali grande. E fomos ver a seleção a jogar. Ai, então o rapaz com as mãos, aquele guarda-redes. Ai, que mãos ele tem, Marquinhos.
Mãos? Que mãos?
Mãos? Ai, se tu tivesse assim umas mãos.
Para que, Carlinhos?
Trabalhar no campo, Marquinhos. Estou a ver, olha, tem que chegar a escolher, querias ver.
E sexta? E mover à feira do Alvarinho, por causa de ter daquelas televisões migrantes? Aí é que se vai ver as mãos do almoço.
Anda, mulher. Anda com cheiro.
That's it. So what about the subtitles then? Yeah, I had to do some speech to text, but there's nothing in Ribamourês. So I had to try OpenAI Whisper and in Portuguese, and then by ear, because they speak like super fast. So I had to slow it down by half, try to fix myself what I thought was the text, and then I sent that back to them. They fixed it, and then we kept the two-line thing where you had the Portuguese translation and you had the Ribamourês text. Used that to feed into the AI, but then I had to create the subtitles that way. So that's the process I used with Whisper. Okay, like I described at the moment. Okay, Whisper is a bit more complicated, because you have to use command line and things like that to use it, so it's a bit more geeky. But all the rest I did, you can do. It's not super hard. It's just taking text, pasting it, talking with the AI, trying to guide it. That's how you guide it is crucial. What you tell it and what you do with it is crucial. So to give you a bit of a description of how the language works, for the word where, okay, in English, in Portuguese you say onde, in Spanish you say
Donde?
In Galician you say onde, which is more Portuguese than Spanish. And in Ribamourês you say? Ende. Funny, isn't it? It's like all crisscross, like it's really strange. And on top of that, they have their own words that they use. So the question is, can you do the same? Yes, you can. And why is it a good idea to try it? Because that's exciting. I mean, I love doing it. You know, meeting the people, looking into that language. I can't speak it, but still I find it nice. You know, that's a nice experience. And seeing people's faces when they see something happening in their language, when they were kids, you know, or they heard grandma speak like that, and the teachers were telling me actually there's communities like in France, in Germany, and all the places where some Portuguese immigrated, these second generations that were born in these countries, they don't know that they speak Ribamourês. Because their folks were talking to them in that language, they think it's Portuguese, not really. And that's quite funny. So as they realize that, then they start liking it. And now that we did this project for ATA, that's all the newspapers that had articles this week about today's presentation.
Oh, wow.
And that's all the benefit for that language. Because what happens now is that now that's in the wind. And when I was meeting with the vice mayor, he was all, oh, I love this idea, why don't we do something for tourism? And it was already going on like, oh, why don't we do an app? And then when people told the places over there, the app is interacting with them in Ribamourês. And I'm like, yeah, it can be done. And it's like, oh wow, and why don't we do this? And yeah, it can be done. Yeah, you know, it's just you have to make a check. But the idea is, if the language gets exposure, then you get work. That's it. So you get the excitement, and you get work where there's no competition, and people are so thankful that they can get something in their language. And AI can be a pain, but for stuff like that, that is fantastic. You know, it's really nice to see that happen. If you use it for translation at the moment, it's something that, let's say, you need to edit like 20% of it. You know, which is for a translator manageable. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Who knows where we'll be, you know, in some time, but that's where we are. So that's what the town hall published, so that's all gone on the internet and all that. So if you want to reproduce it, what's the process I suggest? Ask yourself, is the language you're looking at already transcribed or not? If not, it's going to need to be transcribed somehow. Then you need to clean the text. Then you need to choose which LLM is going to be best, because not all of them would have been trained by the same amount of quality text for some languages that may have things in common with the new language you're tackling. Okay? Unless it's a language that has no comparable roots with any other, which is rare, but usually they are connected, so you can get somewhere. So like languages as bridges, it's better. You need human speakers, because if you don't know the language yourself, and you're not like Jean-François Champollion, which was like massive head like that, you're gonna need human native speakers to guide you, to correct you, and to help you. And then you do this interaction with the AI, where you ask it to do something, you fix it, and you serve it back to the AI, which is called supervised fine tuning. And you begin the creation of structure and resources. Then you have to ask yourself, do you need new words? How do you get them? And then, are you ready for prime? You know, can you use that to do something for work? Then that's the next step. And that's what I have to say.